Hello, everyone, and welcome to the American Family Insurance Dream Bank, where we believe in the transformative power of dreams. I'm Jenna, and on behalf of Dream Bank, we're thrilled to have you with us for today's event. For those who have attended our virtual or in-person events in the past, welcome back. For anyone that is joining us for the first time, I'd like to take a moment to introduce you to Dream Bank. Here at American Family Insurance, life's better when you're under our roof because when you feel totally supported and protected, any dream is possible. That's why we created Dream Bank, an inspirational community destination and virtual experience designed to help people pursue, achieve, and protect their dreams. And now, I'm thrilled to introduce you to our speaker, Aaron Seligman. Aaron is the publisher of Macaroni KID Madison, a website and newsletter for parents to find free low ideas and resources. He loves sharing fun things to do with kids, yes, even in the Wisconsin winters. He and his wife have 2 daughters who especially enjoy going on adventures to explore new parks, festivals, and places together. He personally balances family and personal interests, working full-time as Director of Community Relations at Wisconsin Hillel, leading the PTA at their elementary school, and playing Ultimate Frisbee. He also has professional experience as a teacher, lawyer, and in university administration. Please join me in welcoming Aaron. Thank you so much for being here, Aaron. The stage is yours.
Great. Thank you so much, Jenna. I'm really excited to talk to folks here, some from Madison and hopefully other places joining us as well. I'll try to give some Wisconsin examples, but hopefully things that are applicable to folks from everywhere. Before I jump in, and I'll have a question for the group here, I think I come to this thinking back to my experience when I'd worked at a law firm years ago before I had kids, and I remember I worked for a partner we were working on cases together, and I would, come in Monday morning and he would sort of give the look up from his billing clock and say, "Oh, how was your weekend?" And I'd talk about some place, we tried to explore something, hopefully fun will be done. And I'd ask him about his, and it was always this kind of sigh of like, well, we had, 6 baseball games, I got a quick round of golf in somewhere or something, but like he just looked frankly exhausted and a little bit relieved to be like in the quiet office on Monday. And I, thought, hey, I think this is interesting work. We're getting paid well. We're doing cool stuff. But I want more, and I don't want to feel that way on a Monday coming back to the office. And like, there's got to be more that you can do when you have kids. And I hopefully have picked up some things for my kids through running Macaroni Kid and other work that I'm excited to share with folks here today. So I'm hoping we can leave with a little more energy and kind of positive ideas for how to plan, find things, kind of balance and organize things with a growing family. So I think my first kind of question for folks is just like, if you can type into the chat, what couple different prompts, either, just kind of what brought you to this session and why did you sign up for that? As you think about kind of challenges, either what's a barrier to finding and having kind of quality experiences with kids as parents, or some tip you've found that you'd love to share with others, or just kind of a memorable experience you had with your family, maybe growing up or with a family in a different context. So, uh, really respond to any of those. Would love to hear from folks. Thank you, Darren. Yep, Jack, I definitely hear that kind of barrier of that time and energy, and I think we'll talk about that kind of balance and whose balance we're talking about and whose energy we're talking about, because those things are definitely things that shift a lot. I know we're feeling that right now with kids off at the summer camp during the day, and they're doing cool, fun things, and then in the evening we want to maybe do something else, and they're ready to just chill. Yeah, and I appreciate that point about the weekends versus weekdays. Yep. And not only mental and physical energy are different, they're related, and totally get that. Yeah, and Amber, thank you for sharing that. I get the sort of, it's hard to kind of admit or share that, and it's certainly something to think about. Cool. Well, thank you, folks, for sharing those. I think what a lot of folks are speaking to is this kind of trying to find this balance. I think if folks have read the book The Anxious Generation, I definitely recommend it, or at least the kind of Cliff Notes version of it. But one of a couple of things that it talks about, in addition to like smartphones and social media kind of things, is and people doing things just because it looks good on Instagram, or kind of trying to curate a lifestyle, part is um, this pressure that a lot of us feel as young professionals, as professionals, around um, either overscheduling or structuring activities, and pressure for ourselves to feel productive, um, or for kids to feel like, well, this has to be enriching, and if it isn't something that's going to help them learn or grow or develop a new skill, or later on it's going to be a thing that's going to get them into college or look good on a resume, um, that there's just that pressure to do those things that makes us like kind of it creates anxiety really for everybody. And I think one of the other challenges is just a lot of folks mention kind of time and energy, and part of it is just like, how do you find stuff and stay organized, so you're not just sort of uh scrolling or clicking or trying to find things, and really finding that time to be with your kids, and not just sort of like provide for them, but to have something that's memorable and energizing both for you and your kids together. So one of the reasons that I wanted to talk about this kind of now is like, in addition to that, the kind of rising like anxiety and mental health kind of challenges, is just you know post COVID inflation, like finding fun things to do and things that aren't just like throw more money at it. Like, money is tighter, money's not going as far these days. And we've seen, challenges with AI and social media and online searches that are just kind of unusable, that both are make it more of a challenge in a really like practical way, and have created kind of unrealistic expectations when you see, some gorgeous whatever setting, or somebody who's, I have it all and I'm balancing all these things, and like, uh, really putting kind of unfair and unrealistic pressure on us. So by running Macaroni Kid Madison, one of the things that I try to do here is having kind of a curated website, and I send a newsletter each week, and I collect listings of free and low cost things for families to do, and help folks kind of discover lesser known businesses and places in our community, and to really find that kind of hyper local connection. Because I know in a increasingly digital world, it's great that we have tools like this so we can talk to each other, but also to have kind of meaningful in-person experiences. So I'm not really here to kind of promote myself and my business, and what this isn't. But I don't want this to be a sort of a clickbaity, like, oh, these are the three secrets that every balanced parent does that you didn't know about, or some kind of special formula. This also, I really don't. uh, This is not a sort of political thing or judgment thing about you should have more kids, and because it's good for society, or if you lean in then you can really have it all, um, and that kind of like uh, creating unrealistic, again, sort of judgment or pressure that goes beyond kind of you and your family. Um, so what I do want to talk about is, my wife works in public health, and they have an approach of, rather than sort of mandating or regulating or saying this is the thing that everybody has to do, how do we make the healthy choice the easy choice? So, the example you can think about is like, if you go to the restaurant and the default is salad, but you have to ask for French fries, like, more people are going to get salad. So, how do we make sort of things easier for folks, and making some of these choices easier? So, I'll talk about some kind of planning, communicating, and organizing ideas that I think will hopefully just make things a little bit easier. Again, not not with some broader judgment or kind of political ideology baked in there for you. So I think the first thing when I think about planning kind of activities with kids or how you can, kind of approach some things is one of them is that I take from law is what is your position versus what is your interest. A lot of times in law, a judge or a court will look at a what the law says, say, well, what was the intent here? What was it trying to do versus how is it playing out in practice? So I think about, I like to play ultimate frisbee, and one of the things, but thinking about what is it that I like about it, not just the game and the competition. It's that I get to be outside, I get some exercise, I get to see some other parents and hang out with them, and those are the interests for me. The position is I like frisbee and I want to win this game and I want to get to play. Well, before kids, I would play, a couple times a week, and you could hang out with the team late. You could play late at night games, all those kind of things. Um, so maybe with kids, the interest is, hey, we still want to do those things, and maybe I don't play twice a week. Maybe I play once, or maybe I play, in a league that's maybe a little bit less competitive, but it's closer to my house. Um, or you find other kind of outdoor or we play in a league where they're at a park that's has something that's fun uh, for kids to do. So thinking about like is it the specific activity, the specific event, that restaurant that you always went to was really fancy. Well, maybe they have outdoor tables, and maybe you can do takeout from there and then take it to a park where you can still enjoy the food and the kids can play. Like what is the interest you have versus, well, this is the thing I always did, or these are the two or three things that I like feel like I have to do. I want to see those friends. Maybe you don't have to see them like at that specific place. You can see them in a different way. The other thing is thinking about, are you looking for things that are kid friendly or kid focused? So I find that there's some things that are like, and I'm lucky, or in a place like Madison where uh, kids are welcome in most kind of settings, but not everything is kid friendly. Like, are they going to have something for kids to do versus something that's kid focused? So if you're going to a kid art performer, a musician or performer or a little festival or something where they're going to have the coloring tent or the coloring activity, like we have some outdoor activities, an outdoor concert series in Madison here where there is like an art stand for kids, before the concert where kids can go and like um, do some things. So thinking about in terms of, a lot of folks mentioned their kind of time and energy, thinking about, do you want something where, hey, maybe today I need something that's going to have some activity for my kids to do, and we can just like show up and somebody else is in charge and running it, and that's great. Versus actually, I want to be able to like connect with my friends and have an adult conversation and do something, but I know there's going to be something for the kids to do. Um, so I think or there's we have some semi-pro sports teams that have fun things like in between the innings for the kids to enjoy. So thinking about like just kind of what do you want in any moment, not just kind of broadly like, oh, what should we do? Thinking about what are our interests here and what are we looking for. The other thing I think about is in terms of just like organizing is that it can be the journey, that going to things on the way, like my kids will come grocery shopping if we can stop somewhere else, before or after. There's that other store they like nearby. Or my wife and I will sometimes balance of, hey, if we're going somewhere, I do like to go running, and maybe I will like run home from that place, or one of us will bike and meet the family at that place, and so you can like squeeze in something for yourself along the way. I know when I was a kid, there was an outdoor theater that my parents liked to go to for plays, and they wanted to expose my brother and me to like that sort of culture part. um, but there was a bar along the way that had a wiffle ball baseball field, and so for us, like, that was the journey part, was like, hey, if we get to stop and play wiffle ball and have a burger, and yes, we're going to sit through this play that's going to like you know be interesting for my parents, and we're going to like go along with it. So thinking about kind of where can you go along the way. The other thing that I found is like, I say popsicles are cheaper than babysitters, because I found like when we have played sports or done things, my kids will do almost anything if there's ice cream or a popsicle at some point there. So kids can count, they can come along, they can do things, and with the right incentive, it can definitely help. Uh, and the last thing, yes, food is definitely the motivator. And the other thing I learned when I was in private kind of sector work is like there'd be a lot of these networking events, and I feel like when I was a young person starting out, I was like, great, there's free food, there's drinks, cool, but like, what am I actually doing here? Like, what does it mean to actually network? And I remember one of the partners said to me, look, like, set yourself a goal. Are you going to try to meet three new people? Are you going to try to talk to, oh, you knew that one person or two people are going to be there. You wanted to catch up with them and schedule a lunch date for, some other time, and set those goals both to give yourself a sense of focus and give yourself permission that like you can leave once you've done those things. You don't need to, more isn't, osmosis isn't how networking works. And like same thing, I think with parents and kids, that like just being at an event for longer doesn't necessarily mean it's better, and being there for shorter doesn't necessarily mean it's worse. Setting kind of what that goal is. We have a farmer's market here, and we'll say, okay, I wanted to get, asparagus is in season and strawberries. I want to get those two things. And as long as we get those, we can leave whenever we need to. And, my kids like to run around at the park right next to it, or there's trees and they'll play hide and seek. And like, that's okay. We're not in a rush. I came to get the asparagus and the strawberries. So I say, like an introvert, somebody who's not necessarily going to want to do everything. But set those goals and then give yourself permission to like leave um, when it's done. It doesn't have to be, we're gonna. Your goals can be very, asparagus and strawberries are great goals. The other thing I think with balancing with kids is communicating to them that my kids notice everything, and so if I'm complaining about, oh, I'm sorry, I have to go to work and this is terrible and working is, work is awful. I know, yes, I want to play with you, but if you're just complaining about everything all the time, like the kids are going to notice that, and they're going to pick up on that kind of energy. So explaining why you're doing what you're doing. I know when I've had like PTA and other kind of meetings to say, hey, I'm going to go talk to some other parents about a fun, carnival we're going to plan for the school for this spring. And so it's not that, daddy's leaving and I'm, ignoring them, or feeling like I'm abandoning them, or that kind of like judgment starts creeping in to say, hey, I'm doing this because it matters. And either I'm doing this thing for work and that's going to help pay for, stuff for our family. And then also kind of explaining like what it is you do, and what you did at work. And it's not just I had meetings and I did this. Like I remember during COVID, seeing my kids, they'd say, "Oh, I'm working too," and they'd put on the headset and like bang on the computer. And I was like, "Ooh, we need to explain a little bit more about like what we do that isn't just shouting at a computer." Although during COVID, that was, I guess, sort of a lot of what we did. But making it understandable for the kids about why you do what you do, what kind of impact you're having. My kids like hearing about funny things that happen at work, or when we had that lunch and the food was too hot, or whatever it is. Like um, helping them kind of come along as part of your journey. The other communication piece I've picked up is, this is from a psychologist, is uh, being confident in saying no. That as Americans, we have this sort of tendency to not really want to disappoint anyone, and we don't want to say no. We just say, maybe, yeah, if. So it's like if somebody asks you to do something, either you feel like it's taken on too much, or it's not at this time, um, or you just don't want to do it. You don't have the energy for it. To say no, and to be confident in that no, but to say, think about what are you saying yes to. It may be that you're not saying, oh, I never want to be with this person, I never want to work on that thing, I don't want to take my kids to this thing. My kids will ask to go to the indoor trampoline park like every single day, and to say, no, we're not going there now. We are going to do this other thing, and in 2 weeks when those other friends come to visit, we'll go to the trampoline park. So to say like, yeah, what are you saying yes to doing now? And saying that for yourself too, to say, hey, I'm not gonna like yes to doom scrolling. Exactly that no can mean other yeses, and to feel good about like what am I saying yes to? And again, that doesn't necessarily mean yes has to mean that super productive, like organized thing. Yes could mean I need a half hour on the couch, and I'm saying yes to being on the couch for a half hour. And after that, like we will go to the thing, or we will play that game, or we will do something. But to not feel either bad about that half hour, uh, and to say that maybe it doesn't mean that same exact thing right now. So that's again where those sort of positions and interests that like we want to play a game, great. Maybe you don't have the energy for some like elaborate thing that's going to make a huge mess and then have to clean it up and do a thing. And so maybe we can play like this other game in a different way, or we can take it outside, or we can, go somewhere so it's a little more manageable. The other thing in terms of communication uh, is the last kind of three things here are stuffies and souvenirs and short videos. Like when I've had to take trips for work or be at work for things and being away from the kids, like I've taken one of their stuffed animals, or they've given me one of their stuffed animals to take, and I'll make little short videos of like, hey, look, here's this stuffy coming with me in the hotel, or on the train, or at the buffet, and something like in the airport, and they like seeing those kind of things. And there's different apps we can talk about of like what folks use. Um, but really, with the technology we have to make the kids feel like they're part of it, and you're still thinking about them. And so, that little souvenir or that thing where they see, oh, right, like, they think bouncing on beds in hotel rooms is like the most fun kind of thing. Uh, or if I'm at an event where there's like a really cool, dessert bar, again, that food is a motivator for them to feel like, oh man, that was really cool. Um, it helps you feel more connected, and again sort of less of that guilt of like, oh, but I'm leaving them um, for this thing. The other thing is just when you communicate with kids like on a real basic level, saying something, we're going to do this, oh, we aren't going to do this, and we're going to do that, but not to say, hey, we're not going to do this, but uh, something tomorrow. Psychologists will tell you that people will hear nothing before the but. If there's a but coming, yes, dad joke, pun intended. Um, they won't hear the other part. So it's we're gonna do this, and dad needs a little rest right now, and I gotta finish doing the dishes, and we can do that. Um, Other kind of practical communication thing, particularly with like a partner or spouse, sharing a calendar, super helpful. Like one of my biggest pet peeves is when I talk to another parent about getting together, and they say, "Oh, I got to check with this person's calendar, and I don't know, I got my work calendar's over here and this and that." Like it seems like a small thing, but whether it's a Google Calendar or fancier app or anything like that, um, having a calendar where you can sort of see where everybody is, and having something worked out with a partner about what's your who can put things on a calendar and when, are very helpful. The last thing is just a couple kind of organizing strategies. Um, I've seen research on this where doing something like special time with kids, and to say, hey, I know I've been busy or I've been doing other things. You and I are going to have some special time Saturday morning, um, and it can literally mean like just whatever the kid wants, not thinking about budgets and driving to things, but like we're going to play a game, we're going to do a thing, and you get to pick, and or it could even be just in your house and you just kind of follow their lead about what they're doing, and um, making it special for them, that like they're getting that one-on-one time. Then can also be a great like, I was out late Thursday and Friday night, but or not, sorry, not but, I was late Thursday and Friday night, and Saturday morning you and I are going to have special time, um, to do that thing that we've been meaning to do. Or why don't you come up with some ideas that they like, kind of building up to that. A couple other kind of strategies to help you like save a little time or take advantage of things. I know somebody has mentioned, not sure about having, when you have kids, how do you sort of do things? Day dates have become very popular for us, of like either, getting together with that friend for coffee, or meeting somebody for lunch, or with my wife of, hey, let's right after we drop the kids off in the morning at school, like let's go out for breakfast. So maybe that romantic like 2 hour evening dinner doesn't quite happen the same way, but again, our interest of like let's have time to talk to each other, not just about logistics and like schedule stuff. And that hour right in the morning when we don't have to hire a babysitter because the kids are already like at school is really helpful. Um, if anybody else is a fan of Aaron Sorkin's shows, The West Wing, The Social Network, any of those, you'll know that he's very famous for the walk and talk of his characters who, they're walking from one thing to another and they're having that banter. Like those walk and talks with friends are super helpful. I find, professionally, like uh, just hopping on the phone with somebody and say, hey, I'm going to call you while I'm going for a walk. Can be great, again, with other kind of parent friends, or particularly of young kids, and that, you got a stroller or a carrier or any of those kind of things, like having that walk and talk either in person or on the phone with somebody can be a great like way to be in multiple interests. You can be outside, you can be getting exercise and catching up with that friend. Um, we use our Alexa and Google Home, any of those kind of devices, so that if you I find that I get distracted a lot and I get I'm wanting to be like present with the kids, but I'm thinking about that thing for work. So using my Alexa, like, hey, remind me about that thing at 9 p.m. after the kids are in bed, and like so I'm not obsessing about things that and getting pulled away. We've also used ours to like have it make phone calls for the kids. So, if they need to be home for a bit on their own, they can do that and they don't have a phone, but they could like call us if they need to. Obviously using, I would encourage you to check out Macaroni Kid, but like whatever your go-to, site or couple sites are to find kind of fun things to do. So you're not just like scrolling and depending on the algorithms and whatever to find them for you. And then the last one is the term is allo parents. So finding other parents who this sort of is everybody has this like nostalgia to the 50s of when they would just open the doors and let kids go out and play. Um, and it's not quite that same way, but like having other parents, whether it's neighbors, whether it's other families you can meet up with, um, and even if they're not your like best friends, those people who you can uh, get along with and your kids can get along is really helpful. Kind of that parenting at scale to have somebody who can watch three kids while somebody goes and uh, gets food, or somebody else comes a half hour later because they're doing something. And so like having those kind of other folks who are good company and kind of helpful trades like that. So what I wanted to do is let's practice a little bit. I think we're doing pretty well on time. We'll just take a few minutes here. So if you want to pop in the chat an idea of what might you do if you have an out of town work conference. So what's something you would do to like help yourself feel balanced, or still feel like connected with the kids. As you think about sort of a communication, organizing, planning strategy. Yes, totally. The tours of hotel rooms. My kids, they want to know how bouncy is that bed. Um, yeah, and bring the kids. Like, I'm amazed at some of these places where they have like a water park or a pool or something, and my kids love to hang out. And if obviously, like if you have the benefit if somebody can work remote and come along. Yeah, the tours, the FaceTime. The other thing, we use, there's an app called Marco Polo. where you can, it's just sort of a live streaming, like, or not live streaming, but like it cloud-based videos. You're not having to store it on your phone, and like you can send videos back and forth. Um, but I find that like sending short videos, or when if my wife is somewhere, that I can send her a, hey, here's 20 seconds of this fun thing we're doing, and I'll just send it to you, and then you can respond um, in different ways. So you can, because like for my kids, getting them to like sit still and talk to me is hard. But again, oh look, here's me with your stuffed animal, like eating the ice cream at the buffet. They'll think that's funny, and then they'll show me, hey, here's this thing we did at school today. And so even if it's not like synchronous, that we're not being able to talk at the same time. uh how about y- your kids are tired and you have been in meetings all day? We'll skip to number three here. So like you know yeah, get they're home from school or work or whatever, and you're home from work, you're done, and like, hey, you've been sort of stuck in front of a screen all day, but the kids are really tired. Anyone have ideas here? So one of the things that I think about is, it might be that with a partner or with a spouse, either like, you know, somebody can go out, and one parent is home. Um, yeah, pillow forts, Molly. Those are great idea. That's a great idea. Yeah, movie nights, baking. Um, that's another, baking together. That's another one of those, like, hey, it's definitely, the kids will definitely make a mess, and it'll definitely take longer, and they will gain that sense of like feeling a little more independent, a little more empowered. And it's an activity, and you get cupcakes or you get cookies or you get bread at the end of it. Yeah, and so trading off with a partner or spouse is a great thing to do. Um, and and number four is kind of the inverse of that, of like, if the kids have tons of energy but you're exhausted. Um, Other ideas folks have there, kind of the inverse of, if the kids have a lot of energy but you don't. Yes. I think you had us, Creole, with the, they love to watch, she loves to watch when, or loves that, I watch when, whatever, like, doesn't kind of matter what they're doing. They, Daddy, did you see this? Did you see that? So they can make it special. They love putting on a show, or, they love when I give them challenges at the playground to say, like, sure, if I'm too tired for tag or something, to say, hey, well, why don't, let's set up an obstacle course, and you have to do, this, 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 and this. And they love sort of having that, like, challenge you put out for them, or see if you can, not something dangerous, but like, can you go over here and here and here. We also love those kind of like restaurants or places where there's a picnic table, and like I'm a huge fan of open spaces, of places where like I can be sitting or standing maybe with another parent or something, and you can see them, and it's safe, and they can run around and do other things. So whether that's the place with the outdoor seating, whether that's the park with the kind of picnic area or shelter, um, if it's maybe it is finding that event where it's kid focused, and there's that like somebody else is going to be leading the games or the playtime or the bounce thing or the something for kids, and like you can just kind of step back a little bit, um, and be there to watch and to share that with them, but you don't have to like lead that. um yeah, in Madison we have Zuzu Cafe on the we also have a couple of it's Wisconsin, so beer is certainly a thing. We have beer gardens where you can go, and there's like uh, a yard, and those lawn games, and maybe they don't play bags or cornhole the way you would think they would, but like they'll throw them around and they'll climb on stuff, and it's I'm always amazed at how much like a different playground or other toys, even if it's like very similar to something they've seen before, but it's like in a new spot, makes a big difference. Well, hopefully, you can think about some of the other tips I've shared here as you think about these other scenarios. I know we're running short of time, and I want to take a couple of minutes for questions, but I just want to leave you with, kind of a couple of my like quotes to live by, are really that, you know, the days are long, but the years are short. In that, like, there's a lot of things we do as professionals and as parents that feel very like mundane and routine, and we have to do this. It's the getting the socks on, getting the lunch packed, getting out the door, getting to bed, getting in the bath, getting these things. And so, um, as a runner, the Prefontaine quote speaks to me of like, how do you find something that running that seems pretty boring? It's one foot in front of the other, but like making it special, and thinking of some way that's a little bit different, a little bit creative, and maybe it's not every day, and there is a lot of that kind of uh, routine things, and then but then sometimes it's not, and there's like you find that new experience and that new adventure, and I think that that can really energize you and kids in a way that kind of lasts in other ways. um, and then John Stewart is sort of my comedy hero, and I think it's somebody who tries to be honest and genuine and is also funny. It says, if you don't stick to your values when they're being tested, they're not your values, they're your hobbies. And so as you think about what are your kind of interests in the kind of life and partnership and parent you want to be, um, it's definitely hard. There's definitely things that are really challenging and to get tested. Um, and hopefully some of these strategies and things can help uh, make them just a little bit easier, because you should have hobbies, and that's great. And the things that are your values, like I hope you can really like stick to them. So we just have a couple minutes here. If I hope you'll check out Macaroni Kid Madison. If you're here, if you're ever coming to visit, that's great. You can connect with us. There are other Macaroni Kid sites in other cities, and I encourage you to kind of check them out. Um, and you can also, be in direct contact with me on the social stuff. Um, but I can stop here and see what kind of questions folks have.
All right, Aaron. Well, we just give it another minute to see if anyone has
Sure.
questions. There's always kind of like a two-part question we like to ask our speakers. And the first part is, what dream are you currently pursuing? And then two, what is one piece of advice you would offer someone who is pursuing a dream right now?
I am pursuing how to, like, in a specific context with being a PTA kind of leader, of like how to build a kind of community of practice or connect with other parents like in that kind of space, and balancing PTA involvement, just kind of civic involvement generally for parents in ways that feel impactful and don't just involve like going to more meetings. So how do you like get people involved in ways where they're really doing something and it's not like a huge kind of time burden? So whether it's like setting up, if it's the structures, if it's the community they're part of, like, kind of a lot of things I was kind of talking about like positions and interests, but just like making things easier for more people to be involved, in ways that help their community, especially at a time when, I think politically, nationally, like those things are being challenged, in ways. And then my advice for people who are pursuing the dream, I think, is really thinking about the kind of impact you want to make, and also what energizes you as you think about it. Like there's causes that you might really care about and say, I care about this cause so much that I don't, if all I'm doing is like, asking money for money, for it, and that's the thing. And like, because I care so much about the thing, great, like do that. There's other things where I feel like, oh man, I really care about this, but again, I just don't want to like be on, no offense, more Zoom meetings at night. Like I do this during the day. It's just gonna like, I'm gonna uh, be deflated when it like comes up on my calendar. And so thinking about like that kind of what's giving you energy and what's like sucking your energy out, um, and being really like self aware or honest with yourself about that, and not trying to force things, just because it feels like that's what I should do, or that's the productive thing, or that's what my family expects or society expects or something. Uh, to really think about kind of what is giving you joy and energy and inspiration.
That Okay, I don't see any other questions, so I think we'll go ahead and wrap up. But Aaron, thanks so much for sharing your time and insights with us today. This was such a great session. I think it's very helpful with all of the examples you shared and the examples shared in the chat. We can learn from each other and take different ideas, and apply those to our lives. But I just want to say to all who joined us for this session, thank you for being here. You can learn more about DreamBank's free upcoming programming at amfam.com/DreamBank, and by connecting with us on our social channels. And if you're interested in revisiting this event or exploring past ones, our YouTube channel is the place to be. On behalf of the American Family Insurance Dream Bank, we look forward to hosting you again soon. Until then, keep dreaming fearlessly.